So I know this is, like you said, a very controversial subject, and it's like really, I mean, I'm sure it's been really hard for you to talk about to a lot of people. But do you feel like lately now people have been more open-minded and like able to hear what you have to say?
Well, you know what? I just started doing all of this. I mean, we're talking about, since 2013, only telling like three people, and that's it. And yeah, it's been quite a transformation to come out and talk about all these things. But I think that after my two sessions, especially the last one, I feel like my mission has become so clear.
Hmm.
And the even meditation, even now when I channel information, it's like this is what you need to do. And anytime I start to feel any kind of resistance towards it, it's like immediately they're like, no, you're supposed to do this, just go.
Hmm.
So, and I think that at this point I've processed any fear that I have, and I'm just like connected to source and just keep going, just say what I need to say.
Hmm.
And I'm going to be putting out a lot more content because we're not even started with the information that we need to get out. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Hmm. Well, it's like, I mean, you have a lot of courage saying all these things because I'm sure it's very unique and it's a different experience from most people. And
Thank you so much. Yeah. And I think people are more receptive. And it's funny how things happen, Billy, because I feel like the other day we had this little disclosure from the government with that
Mhm.
UFO image. And I think that, it was like perfect timing to start getting that stuff out.
Yeah.
So I think people are going to be more open. It's like
Mhm.
the perfect time right now. My very first not my first, it was my 18th abduction in 2013. So after I had that experience, um, I kind of kept it away.
Mhm.
And however, when I got back from that experience, immediately I started to see the electromagnetic field and started to be a lot more sensitive to people and their energy. And little by little, I mean, I started to feel what they were feeling and during the meditations. So it completely changed my practice and how I work with my clients tremendously. But at that time, I was selling my business and changing a lot of things, but not enough and I wanted to talk about this information, but I didn't have the platform. I didn't know who to tell. I didn't know how to go about things. So I kind of just kept it in. And as I was saying in my video, I guess the first part is that the regression was a confirmation for me, the most important thing, because, you always have certain doubts in you. You're not, the experience just sounds so amazing. I mean, it can definitely pass as a dream, right? And if it wasn't for my ability to see things that changed in my own life, I mean, I don't know what I could tell people. Like, how can I prove to them that this happened?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do the regression. And in the regression, we went really deep into so much information. I started to channel even more information about the history of our DNA origins, about the alien races coming into the planet, and the entire hybridization program. And that was really huge for me because my biggest question was why? Because, I've seen websites and people talk about the hybridization thing. They talk about the children and they're like, oh, beautiful and nice. But why? And it's like we're not even grasping the reality of what's occurring because it's a much larger issue.
Right.
You know, they are creating these children, and obviously they're mixing blood, they're mixing DNA. So what is their purpose? Obviously there's a tremendous amount to talk about there that's very important.
Mhm.
So during the second regression, that was my only thing, was why, to understand. And also I was going through my own transformation of understanding the universe and consciousness and why we are where we are right now in this specific time. And I mean, even with our government right now, I mean, there's a lot of things being mixed up and woken up and shaken up. So what exactly is happening, and what do we need to be doing during this time to prepare ourselves for this change, right? Because I think collectively we're all experiencing a major wake up, major, kind of like a change in paradigm here. So that was important for me. And when I went there, I had reached as far as I could go within my own understanding of things.
Mm-hmm.
So that second regression really took me even further up to see the entire universe. In the session, I literally traveled through, the entire universe to the very edge of the universe, where I saw just pure white light and just magnificent energy. And so that really made me understand a lot of things, seeing how we are in like a cell. It's almost like we're a cell inside of a cell, and it seems to be a round shape, some kind of a round shape. And I mean, there have been, scientists that talk about this, and also a lot of people that talk about this concept of being in a cell or in a round universe infinitely. And it really is truly like that. I mean, that's what I saw, right, from my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that was huge, and it kind of completely takes you out of perspective, because you're like, okay, I'm this tiny little human being on this planet. What exactly could I be doing here?
Right.
Because previously, before that, when I understood the dualities of our matrix and the AI concept of reality and then source reality, it was a depressing concept to come across, because what's the point? Like, if we're here in an AI construct, what's the point of having any kind of source connection?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that session really merged those two for me. Yeah.
And do you think that knowing those two realities, do you feel that you are able to like have more compassion in people, or at least have a little bit more understanding to like help others? Or do you feel like that I feel like that's the purpose of awakening to that, I feel like, even though it's hard to grasp at first. But then I feel that once you understand that, everything is a little less serious, or a little less terrifying. I feel like,
I mean, yeah, in a way, yes. And yeah, whether I'm able to feel more compassionate on such a deep level, Billy, because I'm so like awake to how people are where they're at. I mean, everything from homeless people to people that have addictions and problems in their life, depression. It's like little concepts, and they are shut inside these tiny little creations that are their own perception, their own creation. And if only we could just show them this much grander scale, it would be so easy for them to just birth out of that small little confine of their mind. And so it is more important than ever to tell people to break open their minds, break open their hearts, their emotions, and clean out everything that does not serve them, that does not belong, and evolve from there, because that's what we're being called to do. And I do feel a certain sense of, I want to say, urgency, but this kind of urgency is not like, oh my God, let's do it by tomorrow. I mean, we're talking about, an evolution of consciousness, which is, our entire DNA strands that we are simultaneously evolving. So, I mean, we're talking about a lot of time that we're going to be going through here, and it is speeding up. That is, that is what's occurring. And what I did see was that it's almost as if the universe travels in a trajectory of like an infinity cycle. And as we approach the center of that cycle, we're vibrating at a higher level. And that means that a lot of things, the vibration of the planet is risen. So the beings on the planet must be at that vibration as well, to resonate, to survive, to thrive, to be able to interact with those dualities, because everything constantly changes. And every single one of those vibrations is a different dimension. So, that being said, we are definitely, undoubtedly going through these transformations and changes. And as we're coming into a fifth dimension, or, part of us is already in the fifth dimension already now, it's just because there's so many levels and different dimensions of people in consciousness, everything needs to come over little by little, and that's kind of what we're working on right now. Yeah.
And I think it's so cool with your story, especially with the abduction. I guess, like, so to get everyday people to kind of understand your story, do you kind of want to describe the, like, how you could describe your experience physically so people can actually feel and sense what you saw and went through? Because I know there's a lot of skeptics to abductions. I know that people at first there's like, oh, you maybe made it up or it's just a dream. But do you have anything that you can talk about that you physically felt and experienced that you knew that was
Oh,
real, and that at least, I mean, I feel what you have to say is very real, because I feel like everything you're talking about is so aligned with everything that I'm talking about. So just because I haven't had that experience, I do feel that the things that you have to say are genuine and real. But is there anything that you can talk about just to get non-believers, I guess, to maybe understand what you physically and emotionally went through?
yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, well, let's begin with the 18th abduction. After that, couple things. Now, I have these three little dots on my arm. Okay, and I this is, we'll go through everything. It's just
Wow.
one of the things which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I've had these little dots since I was a child. Since I was about 5 years old, they just appeared. And they appeared shortly after I had the very, very first experience.
Hmm.
And I had a feeling, because I always had this image of me looking outside the window into, we lived in a like a duplex over a pool. And I always remember looking over outside into the pool, and I see this magnificently white light. Okay. And I have that image in my memory all my life, all my life. And I never questioned. I was just like, oh, it's just a memory when I was a kid. I mean, you're looking out the window. I don't know. There was nothing strange going on within the family or anything to make me remember that, like a shocking, emotional experience or anything. It was just me simply there. So in the regression, we can start there. That was when they took me the first time. And I came back from that, and it was the very first time that they come in and they insert an implant inside of the very back wall of my uterus. And the
Hmm.
whole point is that it monitors, when the eggs are ready to basically harvest.
Hmm.
Okay. From then, the next time was when I was 16. When I was 16, I lived in South America in Bolivia, and I was walking home from school one day, or some after, I used to teach English after school actually, and I was walking down this cobblestone road, and as I'm walking, looking down, all of a sudden the ground is black. These are interdimensional beings. So we were going to talk about some far out technology that we can't really grasp unless we're watching a movie, but they do open portals and
Hmm.
different dimensions for you to walk through. Okay. And so that's what they did to me at that time. And I'm walking into this space, and they make me sit down on a chair, like a medical chair, where I put my legs up, and then they start inserting, the first insemination for the first time. So this was vividly captured in the regression, and I wanted to go there because I wanted to understand what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why. And I feel like that's really important because, then we connect with other people that are going through that, because there are thousands of people around the world that are experiencing these things.
Hmm.
And so now that I talk more about it, I'm connecting with people, and it's amazing. I'm hearing stories, I hear similarities. We've seen similar things, even in drawings, private personal drawings that I have done for myself that I've shared with people. They're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
So, this is, pretty huge thing, unless we're all going through some kind of psychosis,
Right.
that's
People.
around the world.
Totally.
So,
Mhm.
but the incredible thing about that is this. The next day, after they do this insemination, this insertion, I get very sick. I get so sick, and I'm throwing up. I have like a stomach flu, like some kind of a flu, like I don't know, an allergic reaction or something. And my uncle is a doctor. He passed away, but he was there, and he gave me an antibiotic that I took. And oh my gosh, the antibiotic made me even more sick, and I became allergic. And to this day, I cannot take antibiotics. I cannot take any
Wow.
medication, actually. I don't take any medication at all for anything. But that's one thing. And so in the regression, we went through that, and then we saw that that was happening to me because of the implant. And what it does is they insert some kind of the third time after that, they inserted some kind of blue liquid intravenous, and through the body, through the entire body, through the throat, a thick, gooey blue substance into the body, which completely coats the inside. And it's almost as if it's monitoring the vitals of the body. It's like tracking and making sure that everything that they're doing, they're creating here, all their experiments are being monitored and watched. And after that was another experience that happened when I already returned to the States. That's another time when I got severely, severely sick. And I mean, I even have the medical records from my doctor that found an amoeba in the body. They couldn't understand what kind of amoeba it was. They said that I got it when I went to Thailand a year prior to that. You know, I don't know how it can incubate 1 year in your body. You know, he said it could happen. Okay. But I became severely sick and I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks and I couldn't eat anything. And I was, they kept trying to give me antibiotics that would work, because he said, if you don't take an antibiotic, you're going to die from the amoeba, because the amoeba will take over. You know, it's actually a very serious one. And then at the end of that, they had to order medications from Germany. They had to ship some medications all the way from there, which they didn't have in the States. So, you know, so then after that, a couple of days later, everything stopped. I was fine. So those medical things that happened, I didn't link them. I mean, not even in the farthest reaches of my mind could I link those two to this activity that was occurring to me. But that's what happened. And in the regression, that's where I learned that this is why that occurred. Now, the other thing that's very important to talk about is within the feminine cycle. Okay, and I have reached out to other women around the world that have experienced the exact same thing. There are teller signs of you conceiving the children. And what they do is they will inseminate in the body, or they will, you know, take eggs. But unfortunately, I think the majority of mine were inseminated in the body. And they give it 3 days. And then after 3 days to a week, they will remove it. What happens is that, you know, you feel that you're pregnant. You have all the symptoms of being pregnant. You will have nausea. You will have pains. You will have all kinds of things, even, you know, the breast. And most cycles do tend to go that way. But what happened that was different is that when you do have the cycle, you are eliminating, it's almost as if you had a miscarriage now. And the cycles will not be on time, they will be off time. And there were even months where I would miss, you know, and that wasn't something that was common for me, but every once in a while that would happen. I was like, what happened? You know, even up until the last couple of years ago. So you know, those are the things. And now that you start to, when you start to look at all these things, and after doing the regression, you kind of realize what has happened now. It's like, oh my God, yes, that did happen. And so these are the physical things that happen to the body. And I mean, I cannot have children. So, you know, the amount of children that they took apparently is 24 children.
Wow.
And eight of which, I'm sorry?
I was saying that's from the age of the first to now?
Exactly.
4? Wow.
8 of those children are the perfect children, the ones that have genetically achieved what they're looking to achieve. So, 6, what is it? 7. 7 of those children are the ones that were failures. Okay, they eliminate them. I don't know what they're doing or how. And the remainder of them are genetically altered children, which they will train, I don't know what they do, but they're not the perfect children. So this is pretty alarming and pretty incredible to be made a hybrid baby factory. Basically, and for what they're creating. I mean, so this is a serious thing. And then after, recently, when I'm now talking to other women that are going through this, I mean, there have been women that have had to have their uterus removed in order to stop this.
Wow.
So we're talking about a very serious thing. And even men, it's not just women. Men are also being taken.
Wow.
And, they take the seeds, So
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted to say is that after I did my regression and with Alba Weinman, and we did a body scan to remove the implants within the body. I had several. I had a large implant in the base of my spine.
Mm-hmm.
I had some on my ankles, and that was just basically the full body implant that they put in.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if it's out. I mean, I couldn't even begin to imagine how we can remove that.
Mm-hmm.
But what did happen is that after the regression and after the healing with her, one of the dots disappeared and appeared again on the other side of my arm. And I know that sounds pretty fantastic, but I noticed it, and it was amazing to me. I don't understand why,
Yeah.
but
Kind of
that's some
represent.
kind of physical proof. Yeah, yeah. So, and then I think it's something that only someone that goes through this can really, understand. I'm very connected to my body. I'm very connected, and I try to maintain a very healthy lifestyle. So when things are out of balance, it's going to show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not the kind of person that normally has irregular cycles. Like, I live a very healthy lifestyle. I work out, I eat very well. So, you can tell, yeah.
Wow. Um, and then I guess so this has happened to you, and you've actually seen one of your children of a hybrid child, right?
Correct. I have seen 4 of them.
Four of them. And
4 of
have you
them.
been able to communicate or have any kind of relationship?
No, I have not. I've been able to communicate with one of them,
Hmm.
but the thing is that they are kept, I guess they keep them on the ships, and they are preparing to come in a certain dimension or whenever they're ready to enter the planet. But vibrationally, we're not prepared to communicate with them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, what I've been reading as well is that because these are interdimensional beings, they are being created to come into the planet at a certain time. And
Mm-hmm.
as we were talking about the cycle of the planet going through this vibrational shift, it is through that vibrational shift that we are preparing to take in all of these new hybrids into the planet. Okay. So, yeah, I haven't communicated with them directly, but during my session, I was able to see the 3 of them, and then one that was introduced to me
Mm-hmm.
previously.
Yeah, that was a crazy story too. I really thought that was so interesting. And then the fact that you saw yourself like not teaching, but like standing in front of a whole group of people or beings and talking about your experience here. Is that what it was?
Yeah. So when I was taken in that abduction, they took me to the Pleiades to see where I originated from, who I was with, and it was really just magnificent to go to the planet and see in a very natural, beautiful environment, and to see these beings that are they're humanoids, but they're very different. They have like they radiate a certain energy and light that you can actually see. And it's a different level of consciousness, obviously, than ours. They don't operate on emotions. They don't have the same system that we do here. I mean, Earth, the planet, the vibration, it's very heavy. It's so heavy. I mean, we have these mass, material things around us that they're much heavier vibration. But in that planet, it's not like that. Well, the best way I can explain it to you, it's like a plasma. Like, everything's made out of almost like a plasma. And in that regression, I was shown that because they were trying to show me where I was originating from and what I was doing. And I guess it was like the prep work to show me what else is coming in my life here.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed me that I was teaching and instructing a lot of the Pleiadians there on that planet. Similar to what we're doing here, what I'm doing now, talking about the experience of, I guess, interdimensional communication.
Mm-hmm.
The same
And
thing,
did
yeah.
you see yourself as a Pleiadian or were you as yourself now?
Well, It turns out that in my very recent regression, I found out that I was a member of a council of 8, and I am the Pleiadian representative in that council.
Wow.
So I myself seem to have a hybrid bloodline mixed with that Pleiadian
Mhm.
culture, or what do you call that? A bloodline, I guess. They're a Pleiadian bloodline. So yes, so within the Pleiadian, I seem to have done a lot of work there, and then have come here, maybe back and forth a couple times or something. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy to think about that you saw where you came from. And
Yes, it was incredible. It was such a beautiful planet, and even later in the recent regression, when I saw the universe and how each galaxy has like a central sun, to learn how the DNA originates from those suns, just like the Pleiades. Alcyone seems to be the main star,
mm,
and supposedly this sounds insane, but a leader of some sort of that Pleiadian type,
mhm.
an elder of some sort. And my name on the ship, on this galactic council of 8, is Alcyone, actually.
Wow.
And so when I was taken up to that council, it is a collection of many different races. I mean, there was uh, a feline type of woman race, and all the entire race is female. There
Mm,
is a reptilian, there is a tall gray, there is a mantis. There's also a larger Nordic man, and then I would be the Pleiadian representative on that council. So it's very interesting. And what that taught me was that, sometimes we tend to think that alien races, they're good and they're bad, and that's it. There's no middle ground.
mhm,
But the important thing to know is that even they're just like humans. There's like many different kinds of people, different kinds of mentalities, different kind of upbringing
mhm,
or conditioning, and it's the exact same thing. It's like they're not human, but it's like a race. They're races of beings.
mhm,
So within those complex races, there's still going to be different personalities, different attitudes.
mhm,
And some of them are good, some of them are, not so good.
mhm,
But each one of these have a different agenda. Each one have a different purpose for their being and involved in this planet and what we're doing here.
mhm,
So this particular Council of 8 is actually managing a very specific bloodline that they have, I guess, created
mhm,
within the planet, and they are within a certain agenda.
mhm.
Okay, and their agenda seems to be raising the vibration of certain people here, the
Mhm.
seekers that are here on the planet, to raise vibration and communicate and talk at this time.
That's wild. That is wild. Or I guess you're talking about how these hybrids are working on raising the vibration on certain
Yes.
individuals here, and you being one of them. Do you feel that, like you said, after a couple experiences, you also came back with a little bit more heightened senses and were able to see more energy? Um,
Yes.
has anything else changed since these have been going on as well?
Has anything else changed? Let me think. Well, my connection and channeling is very clear. So anytime I connect to source. I just find myself being incredibly integrated and connected to source. Like I can see and visualize that connection all the time, and constantly try to channel information through there.
Mhm.
So I think my entire life has changed, Billy. I'm no longer, I was in event planning previously. That's what I did for over 10 years. And that I completely changed. And now I teach meditation full time, and I do healings full time.
Mhm.
And it seems that my healing abilities have gotten much stronger as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
I am doing international calls now. I'm doing over Skype healings, and even over Skype, I can see the energy field clear as day. I can
Wow.
still feel what they feel. So it's almost as if I feel like my own healing abilities are evolving even more and more. And every time I get more information, I learn how to, put them to practice and how to integrate them personally.
Wow.
So that's what's changed. I mean, I was engaged a year ago, and now I'm no longer engaged. I mean, everything has changed, and it's like my entire life has taken a very drastic 360 degrees, and now we're coming into this new year, and I'm so excited, and so I feel filled with joy and very in alignment with what I'm here to do, because it's like almost as if an elephant, you know, the pink elephant in the room has come out, and I feel like I'm not hiding anymore behind. And all the information that comes in, it's coming in to give out. So my job now is to just give as much information about this so we can help people understand what's happening.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people working on that, like you, Billy, with your incredible magazine and the information that you put out. I mean, we need people like you, you know, so it's really important.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think we are in this time where it's like we are letting go of all the things that used to be a huge distraction so we can focus on what we really need to do.
Exactly.
And I love hearing your story, because I feel that it's allowing people, or it is going to allow people to see ETs or aliens in a much different light that the media and certain people have portrayed them as, you know, very evil or coming to destroy us and everything like that. When really, at first hearing your story, it's a little frightening, you know, especially this idea of hybridization. But what it sounds like now, it's like the purpose of it was to create a different vibration in certain individuals, but also monitor how we are evolving in a way with this new energy.
Well, Billy, I'm gonna put it this way. You know, there's dualities to everything, and what we're dealing here with the alien races, it's no joke. Honestly, it's no joke. And you know, the media has depicted it in a certain way. They made it look like horror movies and everything. And you know, the truth is, Billy, that some of those things that they do show in those movies are actually real, okay? They are real. And I don't want to make it seem like something that is, you know, a fairy tale and we're all being saved by the Pleiadians, because, you know, that's not exactly what's happening in that way. We're talking about mixing the bloodlines, and it's been happening since the very beginning of our human race in Mesopotamia, where our entire reality is created. From there, the origins of our everything, the matrix as we know it, everything, our reality that's being created on the planet, all of this is created for a purpose. And the purpose, from what I have seen, is for these beings to, in a way, survive and to maintain us in this constant reincarnation cycle. So it's really important to understand the full picture, the full information. And this information has been here, Billy. It's been here since the beginning of our reality. It's been here. It's been in ancient texts and everything. I mean, you know, you're talking about the Emerald Tablets, the Book of Enoch, you know, the story of Gilgamesh. I mean, you know, it's all been there for us, right under our noses, and even in our ancient architecture. There is a tremendous amount of proof revolving around alien races being here. And so what that means is that, you know, it's almost as if we've been in a very constant DNA and genetic program, I guess, and alteration, you know, what they're doing for a very long time. We have been in this program since we've been here on the planet. The thing is to understand why. And here's the important thing, and what I have learned from all of my sessions in the regression is that humans have a soul. And our soul, which is connected to source, is like the most important energy, okay, basically, within the entire duality of this matrix. And as they maintain this soul cycling repeatedly on the planet, they are feeding off our low vibrations. They are feeding off what we are emitting. And if you can put that into a movie, you would think it's horrifying. You know, you would think it's incredible. And in addition to that, the hybrids that they are creating, and we're talking about many different races, not just the reptilians or not just the, you know, the terrible ones that we think. But there's many different races that are working. I mean, you have the Mantis, you have the Lyrians, you have the Pleiadians, you have there's so many. We can name a whole list of them. And they're all in different agendas. They all have different purposes. But undeniably, this planet Earth is providing a life force for some of them. And the races that are involved in our one planet, because don't think that we're particularly special. We are special, but we're special in a sense because we are like a white blood cell, like I explained, okay? And we are a white cell because the humans here contain a soul. All of this was created. The entire matrix, the entire galaxies, the entire source, all of it is a part of a greater whole. And so what we're going through is happening on many other planets, in other dimensions, in other galaxies, you know, within the huge creation. The whole point of that is a evolution of a whole being, of a whole creation. So when you look at it that way, there is no good and bad.
Right.
It's just the natural progression of, let's say, a white blood cell, like I mentioned, healing itself from a virus. And let's say that the virus is the feeding off a low vibration. And so it is necessary, and when you look at it like that, to raise the vibration, or you can say to heal the white blood cell that we are living on in order to continue evolving, you know. So it's very interesting. And I mean, the reason why the hybrids are made, there are two parts to that. They are beautiful, magnificent beings. They are artificial intelligence. They are genetically engineered combination of human DNA. And DNA is pure information. If you understand what DNA is, it holds so much information since the beginning of our creation. And I stress this because when you understand this, and you understand that everything that you do on a daily basis gets recorded into the DNA, that is how things are altered. That's how things are shifted. That is how we are being manipulated and changed. Okay? And if you understand that, then you understand why the matrix looks the way it does. Why there's certain companies managing our food industry, our pharmaceutical industry, our education, our everything, because they know that everything they give out to us is creating an alteration, a numbing down. And they want that to happen because the hybrids that come in are coming in with a much higher vibration. We're talking about artificial intelligence that they bring in new technology, which is new for us, but it's old for them because we're talking about a multidimensional galaxy that holds incredible amounts of information that we haven't even thought of yet. So, it's a very serious and real thing, what's happening. But I think the important thing is, and what we need to focus on as seekers and as people that are out here to give out the information, is to give the whole story, because it's not just a matter of making things look beautiful and dreamy. We have to wake up from the dream, from the illusion of believing that things are either good or bad. There's no duality. We just have to be realistic about these realities that are occurring to us and learn about them so that we can shift our own life. We as humans are so incredibly powerful. We are creators, and that's what's different from these AI. That's what's different from alien races. They don't have that ability to be manifesting and creating through the tools of the chakra system and the emotion that we have in our body, through the source connection. And so that's why they're mixing blood with us, because they want to be able to do that. They're trying to find out how to recreate that source connection. They do hold souls as well, but their souls are a different kind of a soul. It's a different make. It doesn't have that source connection that us humans on this particular planet have. So that's the important thing. And when we understand that, we know that we have to shift ourselves, because what that means, it seems like such a cliche to say that, let's wake up, let's, be positive and change everything. But what are we talking about? We're talking about getting out of this artificial matrix that we live in, of the suffering programs, of all those old programs that are maintaining us blind to what's really happening, all the actions happening up there. Yeah. And in a way, there is a fight in the universe between those two dualities, between those good energies and bad energies, but it's not in the fantastical way that we may want to see it. It's a very real and serious way, Yeah,
it's kind of like what I've been learning. It's like, it's how the universe feeds itself in a way.
True, yeah.
By like attaching or taking away energy from something that is connected to the most purest form of energy. And,
you got it.
And that's why I think it is very important what you're saying, is that once you realize the potential or what actually is a human being and that connection to source, you can understand why everything is the way it is and why we are thrown things and fed things to make us feel, heavy and dense, while we are the opposite of that. And
exactly.
That we are capable of so much, because I feel like once you realize that little part of yourself that speaks to you, that is very pure and almost like this sense that you're more than just what you physically are in this kind of shell or body, then I feel like this information that is coming to us and this information that you're sharing as well is for a reason, and that it's only going to benefit with more knowledge. It's like empowering energy and information. And I think that by people hearing your story of this happening to someone, a human actually too, that you're still sane and you're still trying to help. In Hollywood and movies, it's like when this happens, it's usually a person goes crazy and they like can't connect to anyone. Well, you're doing the exact opposite of it. So I think it's proving that, like you said, there's no good and bad. It's all energy and experiences that people want to experience while they're here, or vice versa. Yeah. And I think that I find so fascinating about you is that you've seen things that a lot of people haven't seen. And so you have something visually that I find super cool and super like out there, that it's like, who knows, whatever you saw and everything like that. But I think your message is so important that even though you've experienced these things and things that you could definitely feel like is so unique to you, you're still trying to help the common person, the everyday person, just deal with the energy and this knowledge, because it is a lot to take on, and you've taken it on your whole life, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And it's only here to benefit others. And I think that's what shows that us as humans, we can experience so much of the negative, but in the end, look at what we're trying to do. It's like we are still like these divine beings in a way, you could say.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Billy. Thank you so much for that. And I feel so honored to have met you, and I know that me and you we had work to do. That's why we're here today, to do this. So, and you are, a special person. You have such a strong connection and vibrant energy around you, and you have the knowledge and the information in you to give all of this out. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. So, it's like we kind of like talk about it before we come into the planet, and now we're just kind of doing what we're supposed to do. So I'm honored. Thank you.
Oh, thank you too. It's beautiful, this whole experience with you. So thank you. If other people started talking about their own experiences and their own abductions like you, is there something that you can give advice or kind of, give them a little support in a way?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for that. We have to, and I urge people, if you have any experiences, to talk about it, because what that's going to do is help people relate to us, relate to you, relate to these things that are happening. And the more we talk about it, the more it's going to become a normal thing. You know, just the way we've evolved through our consciousness since the beginning of time. I mean, even when we're just teaching people to accept different things, like, I mean, our society as a whole, our culture has dealt with a lot of separation over our entire history. Separation of everything. Dualities, what's good, what's bad, what we accept, what we don't accept, even racism within people, even, you know, not having gender equality, all of those things. And it's taken people to come out, as they say, out of the closet, or out to speak up, from Harriet Tubman to, you know, to the person coming out and saying that they, you know, they're gay. Like, that's important. Those are big, important steps. And when we make it normal, when we change the consciousness of sleepy people that are not ready to accept new things, you know, we are helping them shift. Not only are we helping them accept something new, but accept themselves. Because we tend to reject the dualities that within us, we reject within ourselves subconsciously. So that's really important. And I think as a whole, the more we learn about everything and anything, because we need to understand that whatever is created here in the planet is so important for us to know, because knowledge is power. Knowledge is how we're going to decide what to do every day, who we're promoting, who we are supporting. What does that mean on a grander scale? We need to start asking those questions. And in the same way, as we come out to talk about our experiences, we are filling in a new knowledge. We are all evolving. We're all evolving. So my advice is, please come out with the stories, whether, you know, you come out and you post it for your friends, or you know, you can write to me if you need help or assistance in talking about it. I'm happy to talk about it. And what I'm planning on doing in 2018 is to open a support group. There are many support groups, but I would like to allow the ability to have a space for people to come in and talk about their experiences as well. And it's needed, and people be as genuine and real as possible. Talk about as much detail as you can. You know, it's just, we just need to, because the more that you do, and what I've noticed in my own identifying what's happened with me, is that I've gone to the MUFON groups. I've even spoken at the MUFON about this experience, but there I met magnificent people that have experienced same things, and you don't know how amazing it is to talk with them and say, wow, that's happened to me. And even there during my presentation, I talk about, let's say, the ship and what it looked like, and, you know, their navigation table, and the actual ship, how it operates. You know, you tell your story, another person tells their story, and it's like you start to learn. We need to wake up and have this information for more than one reason, because the more we learn about them, we're also going to learn about their technology. We're going to learn about what they're doing, how they operate. We have to inform ourselves, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, anyone that needs help in communicating or talking about it, please connect yourself with me, and be brave and be honest about your story. The more you can just talk about it without being insecure about the story, the better. I think authenticity is really important, because I can see that maybe, you know, we cannot doubt anyone. We have to allow people to come out with their truths and accept what they come, because in our limited reality, we have no idea what's out there. And who is to say what's true, what's not true? Right now, anything can be true, because we live in a multidimensional universe. You know, who can say this is the truth and that's it? No, you know, there is so much information out here, and there's so many things outside of our planet, outside of our world. We believe that our science is it. That's it. It's just what we know as our science. And we haven't even gotten through, you know, we don't even understand half the things that we're talking about, you know. So we need to educate ourselves. Yeah. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, that's so important. And like you said, to be open to things and use your own discernment to figure out what's true to you and what's not. Because I feel like the greatest way to really feel what is true is if if it's empowering or not, if it makes you feel like it's something you can actually use in your life, or it's going to make you feel fear or something. You know, there's a huge difference between that. So I
Yeah.
feel like hopefully when people listen to this, that they can see that this is all to empower you, and it's all to help
Correct.
you in your life and everything that you've experienced, and that there's no, if you do feel fear, that there's people like yourself that you can reach out to and find some comfort or someone to relate to and talk to. And
Yeah.
and that, you know, this paradigm of fear is slowly evolving into something much more helpful and beneficial to everyone.
Absolutely. And there are some beautiful support groups. I mean, I work with Misha Johnson, which I will be presenting for her group at the end of the next month.
Okay.
And Misha Johnson she holds support groups for people that have experience in my lab, which is a whole nother story. Those are abductions done here within the government with black ops here, you know, and those are some very traumatic stories.
Wow.
And I mean, I've been on the calls, on the private calls that they have, and the reason why it's so important to talk about these things is because there are people that are currently living in fear. They are living in fear because of their experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. You know, we have to understand what fear is. This is where we merge spirituality, spiritual work with these things about aliens and all this information. And this is what I'm here to do. Because as we heal our body, we're healing our mind. As we heal our emotions, we heal everything. And it's important to heal everything, because now you're going to pull yourself out of that fear mentality, because you know that the fear mentality is feeding something else. Mm-hmm. So we got to take that serious, right? And people that are living in fear, anybody that's suffering, anybody that's afraid to speak out about it, please know that emotionally we need to work on that. It's not something that we want to hold in our bodies. That's where illness comes from, and that's what they want us to do. They want us to be afraid. That's why we've had so much suppression in about talking about. That's why it's been made to be something ridiculous. We've had the movies to make sure it doesn't come out. We've had, you know, what people think society's science wants to limit our ability to go beyond. There's so much information out there that hasn't been disclosed to us from the government that's just now going to start coming out. And as it becomes normal, you know, as it becomes something that we're learning more about, it'll become more of a norm to talk about it. Yeah. So pull yourself out of fear, number one, because you are magnificent human, and you need to heal yourself. We're here to heal ourselves. So before anything else, you know, get out of that state of mind of fear, and then speak about what you need to do, because not only are you helping yourself, you're helping the entire race, right? Entire human race. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. That's totally true. And yeah, thank you for saying that. I think your point about people living in fear and how that's feeding something, it shows that there's a bigger picture, and that there's more to your feelings than just your fear that you can experience. Exactly. And for someone like you to come out and talk about this, I'm sure you had that experience of living in fear for years. That just by sharing and having your own regression into your experiences, in a way healed yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, 2 years ago, I wouldn't even dream of or even thought that I would be here doing what I'm doing today. So it's amazing how the life just opens up the roads for you to do what you need to do. But and that being said, it means that every single one of you watching this, you know, learning about this, is here to do something. You don't receive anything. Nothing is just a coincidence, basically, is what I'm saying. You know, so little drops of information, little drops of light that help you, you know, raise your own vibration. Yeah.
Totally. There is no such thing as coincidences. So if people want to know more info about you and kind of what you do you want to talk about your meditation practice and anything like that?
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm the owner of Bay Area Meditation, and I do source integration healing. So I help each person remove all the blockages that they have in their body, entity attachments, any kind of emotional pain within the body that is then transformed into physical pain or illness. I assist you with relieving those contracts. I help guide you breaking contractual agreements with your entire network that you've come into the planet with. So family, friends, everything, because we're all connected. So I assist you in cutting cords, learning how to do energetic hygiene to cleanse the body and the mind. And it's a more advanced, deeper meditation, but anyone can do it. You just need to have a session. So when you do a session, I'll record the session for you, and you get a recording of the session to help practice as well. I do corporate meditation for just beginning meditation as well here in the Bay Area with Silicon Valley companies here, and I also do one-on-one sessions for people that want to learn. For adults and children. And that's my main thing. I'm also an Ascension coach. So when you are ready to take the next step in your spiritual evolution and you're ready to make it a lifestyle, then I come in and I help you. And we help get rid of all the other blockages that you've had, anything holding you back from taking that next step, from being fully integrated with source connection. That's where I come in.
What kind of advice would you give to anyone who's very skeptical about all this and what's happening to the world and them? Is there anything that you can that you would recommend people to start thinking about, or maybe you can talk to them about any skepticism?
Skepticism. It's always good to have skepticism. It's always good because we have to use our intuition. The most important thing about that is that if you are feeling skeptical, my question to you is, are you using your intuition? Because our internal guidance system is what's going to help us understand what's real, what's not for us. And as I said before, reality, nobody can say what's real, what's not real. We are in an multidimensional universe and reality here. So we have to find our own truths in everything that's being said to us, everything that's being taught. And I really invite you and urge you to question where that information is coming from and do your own research. Don't be lazy, because I see a lot of very, people that are skeptical, but they're not willing to do the work or to even read one article about it. So please take the time to, at least be open, connect with yourself, use your intuition, and trust yourself. Because a lot of times when I talk to people that doubt these things, they're like, yeah, I've thought about that. Maybe that is true. I've had an experience when I was a kid, but I won't talk about it because I'm going to sound stupid. But you trust yourself. And then the second part of that then takes you into the second part, which is self-love, which is a term that we gotta talk about more too, because we need to integrate ourselves and stop living externally. When we live externally, then we're being fed fear, all these programs that give us that unhealthy skepticism where we're paralyzed. We don't want to move. We want to stay within the parameters of everything we know, and we don't want to go further from there. Right. And is that something that somebody that loved themselves would do? Is that growth? Is that expansion? It's very limiting. And it's almost like, I have so much compassion, because don't limit yourself to certain information. I mean, the world is so big. Even within our block, we can talk to people and learn so much that we don't know. How can we limit our knowledge and our curiosity? So be curious, use your internal guidance system, find your own truth, and be respectful. Be respectful to other people, because these things are not hard to talk about. I mean, I like to keep things very real in my life, and I'm a person that I respect myself. I respect everything I do. I've always had so much pride in my work and everything I create, even as an artist, as a painter. But coming into doing something like this is like my creation. I work with people. I help people heal, and having respect for other people's way of life and their experience is valuable, because that's a mirror of yourself too. It's a mirror of yourself. Yeah. So that's what I think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, thank you for that. Well, I love talking to you. I think I learned a lot too, just from this whole exchange, and I feel much more empowered to keep sharing this knowledge and this information. And if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know anytime. I'm always available.
Thank you, Billy.
And yeah, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes. Thank you for spending New Year's with me.